My parents spent all my restaurant savings for my sister's honeymoon mansion. When I protested, they said, "You're just jealous she found love." Then they told everyone I was ungrateful. My sister sneered, "You're nothing without us." The next morning, my boss sent me a screenshot of what my sister did to my name. "You're nothing without us," Delilah said, smirking from behind her wine glass. "You should be happy for your sister," my mother added sharply. "Family is more important than money." I just stood there, feeling like a stranger in my own family, realizing they didn't care how much they destroyed my life. The next morning, my boss texted me a screenshot. My sister had gone further than I thought, and it almost cost me everything. I'm 34, and until recently, I believed that hard work and loyalty could get you anywhere, even when you don't come from much. I spent my entire 20s working in kitchens across Charleston, saving every spare cent to open my own small restaurant. Nothing fancy, just a cozy place near King Street where I could finally be my own boss and bring some of my family's old Southern recipes to life. I was close. After 10 years of scrimping and saving, living in tiny apartments, biking to work to save on gas, turning down vacations, weddings, and nights out, I had finally saved $187,000. It was enough for the down payment on a little abandoned bakery space I had been eyeing for years. My parents, Louise and Martin, knew all about it. They had helped me open my first bank account when I was a teenager, and stupidly, I had never removed them from it. It wasn't that I didn't trust them, it just didn't seem important. They were my parents. And over the years, even though they clearly favored my younger sister Delilah in every way, I never thought they'd actually hurt me. Delilah was the golden child. Always had been. She got the best of everything growing up, the nicest clothes, the newest gadgets, the loudest cheers at school events. I got polite nods. When Delilah crashed her car in college, my parents bought her a new one without blinking. When I graduated top of my class in culinary school, they sent a congrats text. Still, I didn't hold it against her. We were just different people. Delilah floated through life, a blur of boyfriends, travel photos, and jobs that never seemed to stick. Then one day she announced she was engaged to a guy named Bryce, whom she met on a cruise 6 months earlier. Bryce was flashy, designer watches, fast cars, lots of big promises about business ventures no one could quite understand. My parents fell head over heels for him immediately. I kept my mouth shut. It wasn't my life to judge. But 2 months before I was supposed to close on my bakery, I logged into my savings account to transfer some money, and found it nearly empty. $417.23. At first, I thought it had to be a mistake. Some kind of glitch. I called the bank in a panic. After a lot of hold music and a very awkward conversation, they explained the transactions were authorized by account holders. The money was gone. I drove straight to my parents' house. I don't even remember the drive, just the sick feeling in my gut and the buzz in my ears. When my mom opened the door, she acted like everything was perfectly normal. Inside, Delilah and Dad were laughing at something on TV. A half-empty bottle of wine sat on the coffee table. I asked them, flat out, what happened to my savings. Mom gave a soft laugh, like I was being silly. "Well, you weren't using it yet," she said. "Delilah and Bryce found the most beautiful property outside Asheville. It's perfect for them to start their life together. You should see it." "You took my money," I said. I could barely get the words out. "Without asking." "You're being dramatic," Dad said sharply. "It's not like you can't save it back," Delilah added, not even looking away from her phone. I told them about the bakery. The deal I had lined up. The inspections I had already paid for. Everything I had worked toward for a decade. Mom rolled her eyes and said, "Nathaniel, you're just jealous because your sister found someone. You'll find love too, eventually." And honestly, Delilah said, setting her phone down and smirking at me, "You should be thanking us. You wouldn't have gotten half as far in life without Mom and Dad." I left before I said something I'd regret. My head was spinning. I thought maybe after sleeping on it, they would realize how wrong they were. Maybe they'd apologize. They didn't. Instead, they doubled down. Within a week, word spread across our extended family that I was acting out because I was bitter about my sister's happiness. Aunts and uncles I hadn't heard from in years texted me, shaming me for not supporting Delilah. Then Delilah posted a photo on Instagram of her and Bryce standing in front of their giant mansion with the caption, "Big thanks to my amazing brother for helping make our dreams come true. Maybe we'll pay you back, if you're lucky, winky face." I reported the post, but nothing happened. I was furious, humiliated, and completely broke. As if that wasn't enough, the next morning my boss, Mr. Denton, texted me. He sent a screenshot. Someone had created a fake Facebook account using my name and posted a vicious fake review about our restaurant, claiming I was lazy, rude, and showed up drunk. It didn't take long to figure out who was behind it. Delilah always had a mean streak when she didn't get her way. And she was never smart enough to cover her tracks properly. Mr. Denton was kind about it, but the damage was done. In a business as competitive as Charleston's restaurant scene, bad publicity spreads like wildfire. He offered me a small severance package and told me it would be better if we parted ways. Just like that, I lost my job too. The people who were supposed to support me, the ones who were supposed to be proud of me, had ripped my life apart without a second thought. I spent the next few months just surviving. I sold my car to pay rent. Picked up any work I could find, landscaping, food delivery, helping with catering gigs. I felt like a ghost. Like all the years of hard work had just evaporated. I barely slept. Barely ate. I stopped seeing friends because I was too embarrassed to explain what had happened. But somewhere in the middle of that misery, a small part of me woke up. Maybe it was anger. Maybe it was survival instinct. Maybe it was just realizing that if I waited for my family to save me, I'd be waiting forever. I scraped together a few $100s and bought a broken-down food cart off Facebook Marketplace. I cleaned it up myself, fixing dents, repainting it. I started selling shrimp and grits, pimento cheese sandwiches, and homemade biscuits at farmers markets around Charleston. At first, it was humiliating. Going from sous chef at a respected restaurant to sweating over a tiny grill in the summer heat. But people liked my food. Word spread. Breweries started asking me to set up outside their venues. Couples hired me for weddings. One job turned into 2, then 5, then 10. A year later, I had enough saved to partner with my old college friend Mateo, who believed in me when no one else did. We opened a tiny brick-and-mortar restaurant called Low Country Roots just outside downtown. Nothing fancy, but it was ours. I never heard from Delilah or my parents during that time. Not once. They were too busy living their Instagram perfect life, or so I thought. Then one evening, while catering a private event, I bumped into a man who recognized my last name immediately. He used to work with Bryce, or rather, had been one of his many burned business partners. He told me that Bryce had skipped town a few months earlier, running off with a woman he met online. Delilah was living alone in that giant honeymoon mansion, struggling to pay the mortgage her new husband had promised he'd cover. I didn't feel vindicated. Not really. I just felt free. I just felt free. No part of me wanted to reach out. No part of me wanted to say, "I told you so." They had made their choices. They had shown me exactly who they were. And it had taken losing everything to finally see it clearly. But the universe wasn't done with me yet. About 2 weeks after that run-in, I got a thick, glossy envelope in the mail. No return address. Inside was a gold-foiled invitation to Delilah's divorce party. Hosted at the mansion. Open bar. Live music. Come celebrate a fresh start. There was even a handwritten note on the back, "Hope you're not too bitter to show your face. Would be nice for you to contribute something after everything we did for you." I stared at it for a long time. Not angry. Not sad. Just tired. It amazed me, even after everything, they still thought they had some claim over me. Still thought I owed them something. Still thought I would show up, smiling, pretending everything was fine. I didn't RSVP. I didn't call. I didn't even throw the invitation away. I just left it sitting there on my kitchen counter for a few days, a reminder of the line that had finally been drawn in ink between who they were and who I was now. Business kept growing. By the fall, Lowcountry Roots was getting good press. A local food critic came by one Saturday night, tried the blackened catfish and pecan pie, and wrote a glowing review. After that, reservations started filling up fast. I hired my first employees, a small crew who were just as hungry and stubborn as I had been. Mateo and I spent long nights scrubbing floors, updating menus, brainstorming new specials. For the first time in my life, I felt steady. Rooted. Like everything I had suffered, every betrayal, every sleepless night, had been leading to this. There were moments, of course, when the past crept in. Seeing families laughing together over dinner at my restaurant sometimes hit me harder than I expected. Hearing a mother brag about her son's new promotion could twist the blade a little deeper. But most days, I didn't think about Delilah or my parents at all. They had become like a closed book gathering dust on the highest shelf. Around Thanksgiving, I ran into my cousin Claire while picking up supplies at a local market. She was one of the few relatives who hadn't completely taken sides when everything blew up. We made small talk for a bit, the weather, work, the chaos of holiday cooking, but then she got quiet. "You know they're talking about you, right?" she said finally. I shrugged. "They've always talked about me." "It's different now," Claire said. "A lot of people know what really happened. Delilah's, well, she's not exactly keeping a low profile. Bryce maxed out her credit cards. The house is going into foreclosure. Your parents are panicking because they co-signed on a bunch of stuff." I didn't know what to say to that. I wasn't happy they were struggling. But I wasn't sorry, either. Claire hesitated, then added, "They're saying you abandoned the family when they needed you most." I almost laughed right there in the middle of the produce aisle. Abandoned them? After everything they had taken from me? After they had stolen my future and thrown it away without a second thought? I just nodded and changed the subject. There was no point arguing. No point defending myself to people who had already decided who I was. Later that night, I sat outside on my tiny apartment balcony, nursing a beer, watching the city lights flicker across the river. I thought about all the Thanksgivings before, sitting at the kids' table while Delilah basked in praise, watching my parents fawn over her latest accomplishment while mine went unnoticed. I thought about how small and invisible I used to feel. I wasn't invisible anymore. I had built something no one could take away from me. And for the first time in my life, I wasn't scared of being alone. If anything, I realized I preferred it. The freedom to make decisions without looking over my shoulder. The peace of knowing I wasn't going to be blindsided by people who claimed they loved me. The simple, everyday satisfaction of making something good, a plate of food, a clean dining room, a new special that sold out in an hour, without needing anyone's approval. But my family didn't disappear so easily. By Christmas, the texts started. At first, just short ones from my mom. "Thinking of you. Hope you're doing okay." Then, after I didn't respond, they got longer. "Guiltier. Family sticks together, Nate. We've all made mistakes. It's time to move on." And finally, when that didn't work, they shifted to anger. "It's disgusting that you can't forgive your own blood. You're selfish and cold. No wonder you're alone." I blocked their numbers. It hurt, even though I didn't want it to. No matter how much I told myself they weren't really family, not in the ways that mattered, some part of me still ached at being cast as the villain in their story. The world moved on. Lowcountry Roots grew. We expanded the menu. Hired more staff. Word of mouth kept the tables full most nights. I got to know the regulars, couples who came every Friday night for the gumbo, families celebrating graduations and birthdays, even tourists who stumbled in by accident and left raving about the biscuits. Charleston started to feel like home in a way it never had before. It wasn't flashy. It wasn't perfect. But it was mine. Spring rolled around, and with it came a new kind of peace I hadn't expected. I still thought about Delilah and my parents sometimes, but it was like remembering a bad dream, something distant and dulled by time. I didn't check their social media. I didn't ask mutual friends for updates. If people brought them up, I changed the subject. I was done living in that world. Or so I thought. One humid afternoon in May, I was locking up after a long lunch shift when Mateo came jogging up from the back, his face tight. "You've got someone out front," he said. "Won't leave until they talk to you." I wiped my hands on my apron and headed to the door, my stomach already sinking. There, standing awkwardly under the awning, was my mother. She looked older. Smaller. Like life had wrung her out and hung her up to dry. She smiled when she saw me, that tight, brittle smile she always used when she wanted something. "Hi, Nathaniel," she said, smoothing down her blouse like she was about to walk into Sunday service. I didn't say anything. "I just wanted to see you," she said quickly. "Just for a minute." "We miss you." I crossed my arms. "What do you want?" Her face faltered, but only for a second. "We're in a bit of a rough patch," she admitted. "The house, Delilah's house, it's being foreclosed on. Bryce isn't, well, he's not around. And Delilah's had a hard time finding work." I said nothing. "And your father's been having health problems." "Stress-related," she added pointedly, as if I should feel guilty. Still, I stayed silent. "We could use some help," she finished softly. "Even just a little." I let the words hang there between us, thick and sticky like the humid air. My mom looked at me, really looked at me, maybe for the first time in years. She must have seen it, the new version of me. The one who didn't need them anymore. "I'm sorry," she said finally, voice trembling. "For everything. We didn't mean to hurt you." It should have felt good to hear that. But it didn't. It felt empty. Like handing someone an umbrella after they watched you drown. "I hope you figure things out," I said. And I meant it. I really did. But I wasn't going to be the solution to their problems anymore. Without another word, I turned and went back inside. I locked the door behind me. That night, I sat at my tiny kitchen table, staring at the same counter where Delilah's divorce party invitation had once sat months ago. I thought about everything I'd lost. Everything I'd built. Everything I stood to lose if I let them back in. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel sad. I felt sure. I felt sure. I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't even resentful. I was just done. It's a strange kind of grief when you realize the people you spent your whole life trying to please are never going to see you the way you hoped they would. It's quieter than you expect. Less explosive, more like a slow exhale you didn't know you were holding. After that day, my mother didn't come back. Neither did my father. Delilah didn't reach out either, no apology, no excuses, no desperate attempt to patch things up. Maybe she was too proud. Maybe she still thought she hadn't done anything wrong. It didn't really matter. Life kept moving, faster and fuller than I could have imagined. We had our 1-year anniversary at Lowcountry Roots and threw a little party for the staff and our regulars. Mateo gave a drunken speech about how proud he was of everything we'd built. Customers stayed late, clinking glasses, telling stories, laughing loud enough to shake the windows. At one point, I stood outside the front door alone, watching the glow of the restaurant spilling out onto the sidewalk. And I realized something: this was the family I had always been chasing. Not the one I was born into. The one I built. The one that chose me back. A few weeks later, I got an email from an old high school classmate, Marissa, who worked for a local magazine. She wanted to feature me in a piece about Charleston's best new restaurants. She came by on a Saturday afternoon and interviewed me at one of the picnic tables out front. asked me about my food, my story, how Lowcountry Roots got started. I kept it professional. Talked about my love for Southern cooking, the long hours, the risks of starting from scratch. I didn't mention my family. Not once. When the article came out, there was a full-page spread with a photo of me standing in front of the restaurant, arms crossed, smiling. The headline read, "From the Ashes, How One Local Chef Built His Dream." It felt surreal. Customers came in with the magazine folded open to my page. A few even asked for photos. But what struck me most wasn't the attention. It was the quiet pride buzzing under my skin. The feeling that I had finally stepped out of the shadow of the people who never really saw me. Late one night, after locking up, I sat alone at the bar with a whiskey in hand, rereading the article for the third time. Mateo came in from the kitchen, wiping his hands on a towel. He slid onto the stool next to me, grabbed himself a drink. "You did good, man," he said, nudging me lightly with his shoulder. I smiled. "Took me long enough." He raised his glass. "To doing it your way." I clinked mine against his and took a long sip. Doing it my way. Without permission. Without validation. Without needing someone else's blessing to know my worth. It tasted better than any whiskey I'd ever had. The next morning, there was a voicemail waiting for me. Blocked number. I almost deleted it without listening. But something made me press play. It was my father. His voice sounded smaller than I remembered, more tired. "I know you don't want to hear from us," he said. "And I don't blame you. We weren't fair to you. We didn't appreciate you the way we should have. I don't expect you to forgive us. Just know we're proud of you. Even if we didn't say it when it mattered." There was a long pause. A sigh. "Take care of yourself, son." Click. I stared at my phone for a long time after the message ended. No anger. No rush of satisfaction. No sudden urge to call back and fix everything. Just quiet. And maybe, under it all, a small sense of closure I didn't know I was waiting for. I didn't call him back. I didn't call any of them. There wasn't anything left to say. Whatever guilt they felt now wasn't my responsibility. I had carried enough weight for one lifetime. I wasn't about to pick it back up just because they realized too late what they had thrown away. I deleted the voicemail. That was my final goodbye. Things kept getting better. One evening in early summer, a real estate agent who had been coming to Lowcountry Roots regularly pulled me aside after dinner. "You ever thought about expanding?" he asked. I laughed. "One restaurant's enough work for now." He grinned. "Well, if you ever change your mind, there's a little place near King Street coming up for sale. Thought you might be interested." At first, I brushed it off. I didn't want to get absorbed into some impossible dream again. But a few nights later, curiosity got the better of me. I drove by after closing. It was the old bakery. The same one I had almost bought years ago. The one I had lost because of them. It needed some work, the paint was peeling, the windows dusty, but it still had good bones. Better than I remembered. The price was more reasonable now too. A foreclosure. The owners, apparently, had gotten in over their heads. I didn't even have to think about it. I called the agent the next morning. Within a month, the paperwork was signed. I stood outside on the cracked sidewalk with the keys in my hand, staring at the front door. A decade late, but it was mine now. Mine on my own terms. The funny part? Word travels fast in Charleston, especially among old family friends and mutual acquaintances. When the news got around that I had bought the bakery, the same bakery my parents and Delilah had laughed off as a silly little dream, people started talking. Somehow, Delilah found out. A week after the sale closed, I got a message through our restaurant's public email. It was from her. Just 3 words, "Can we talk?" I didn't respond. I opened the bakery 6 months later. We kept it simple: rustic breads, pastries, hearty sandwiches. Comfort food done right. On opening day, we had a line around the block. A few local papers ran articles about how the chef behind Lowcountry Roots was reviving one of Charleston's historic buildings. Customers left with bags full of fresh bread, sticky buns, and pecan tarts. As I handed over a bag to an older woman in a wide-brimmed hat, I caught a glimpse of someone standing across the street. Delilah. She was thinner than I remembered. Tired. Watching from a distance like she couldn't decide whether to come over. She didn't. She just stood there, clutching her phone, while the bakery she helped steal from me years ago bustled with life. I met her eyes for half a second. Then I turned away, smiling at the next customer, and kept working. I didn't need a scene. I didn't need a fight. I didn't need anything from her. I had already won. Later that evening, after the rush died down and the sun started setting over the rooftops, I locked up and stood in the doorway, taking it all in. The smell of fresh bread still hung in the air. The register was full. The lights were warm and golden against the darkening sky. This was my revenge. Not bitterness. Not cruelty. Just living well. Thriving without them. Building the life they tried to take from me, better, bigger, stronger than they ever thought possible. I slid the key into my pocket and walked home, the sound of laughter and clinking glasses from the restaurant down the street trailing behind me. No sadness. No regrets. Just peace. Real, earned, honest peace. And the quiet, satisfying knowledge that sometimes the best revenge isn't making them hurt, it's making yourself happy enough that their opinion doesn't matter anymore. Not even a little bit.